This is Francesco Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report News Video Talk Show. I'm on a split screen right now, and as you can see, this is from Syria, and this is some of the devastation that has taken place over the years since Assad has clamped down on the rebellion with the Free Syrian Army, and then it's just exploded from there and turned into a major proxy war between the United States and Russia. Iran, Russia, they're on basically on Assad's side, and then you have over here on our side supplying the moderate rebels, Saudi Arabia, Israel, United States, countries like that. It's really exploding, and you can see the devastation. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this because we're going to talk about Cy Hirsch, who came out and discussed what the Joint Chiefs of Staff are doing, and basically countering what the Obama administration has been out there doing. And we're going to elaborate a little bit further on it. I just thought, wow, look at that devastation. So this is the Uncensored Report. I basically do everything. I put everything together here. Clicking on the keys, you'll see me doing multiple things. I put the format together, the show, everything. So if I seem distracted, it's because of that. Now, basically, I go over the news items that I think are interesting that I put on my uncensoredreport.com on the main national page. And I may opine on them, I may not. So let's go ahead and let's jump over to the news and just cover what some of the news is for today. Get out of there. And, you know, some stuff I just put on here that's interesting. I just posted something about keeping Christ within Christmas. There is, and a lot of people will say there isn't, but there is a genuine war on Christmas out there, folks. And you're seeing it more and more prevalent each year as it goes on. And so I put that out there. A lot of this other stuff is just information that people want to see, but may not be particularly interesting. Man named Jihad arrested for threatening jihad in California police and making a bomb threat. We're seeing that more and more as people are becoming more concerned with what's happening out there. That ISIS come here? Is ISIS here? Are people that are share the same thoughts and aspiration and ideology as ISIS? Are they here in the United States? And will they do something like this idiot here? Facebook censoring. This has been going on a lot. You don't hear about it a lot, but basically what Merkel and some of the other European leaders have done is gone out to the social media platforms, Facebooks, the Twitters out there, and they want them to censor the refugee crisis. Anything negative on migrants, they want essentially censored. And you're seeing this across the board. They don't want any negative connotation being put out in the public's eye. So they're able to go there, and Facebook is censoring. Now, this is actually Paul Watson. He put this, I think, on a United States site. He is out of England, but they're trying to censor it from anything that can be communicated or picked up over in Europe, and they just don't want any negativity, such as this raping of a Swedish woman. And I think it's the same one that I put the actual video of her saying everything that happened, went through it all. And it's amazing the level of crime and rapes and things that are coming from these migrants that aren't being filmed or posted out there in the news. One thing I've learned since getting into the alternative sphere is that major media is basically they're propagandist. Across the board, and I always thought, well, that's just other countries, but no, it's basically here. NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, they're given basically certain stories. They all follow the same stories. They don't touch on everything that's out there. If other people are communicating on it, no matter if they got all the facts and all the eggs and they dotted their I's and crossed their T's, they'll say, oh, they're lying, they're conspiracy, they can't be believed. A year later down the road, it proves that they were accurate. That's one reason why I enjoy alternative media, because you get real true stories that aren't being communicated out there. You know, a lot of people, I'll post stuff from Sputnik, which is a Russian news agency, pure propagandist. They'll put out just stories that just are pro-Russian left and right. They're interesting. They give you another perspective of it, but you got to keep that in the back of your head. But then again, too, ABC. You know, you got George. If you go to ABC's site on Facebook, you got a big old picture of George Stephanopoulos on their cover. He used to work with the White House. He's a good friend of the Clintons. He's a donor to the Clinton Foundation. And you'll read some of their communications. They're very negative. Like when Trump comes out and says something, and by no means am I for Trump. A lot of people think I am. I'm really not. He cracks me up, but I'm not really for him. But it's amazing how they'll take stuff that he says and interpret it the wrong way and communicate that to the people, which was totally opposite of how he stated it. Or they'll just say that he wants all Muslims banned. Well, no, he said he wanted them controlled, stopped until we find a way to essentially vet these guys so that we're not letting in any extremists. Because as you should know, if you watch my shows, 70% of all the Syrians are Sunni. Sunni is the same sect that Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and all these extremists are coming from. And so it's a viable concern. Why aren't we vetting these guys before they're coming into the United States? Obama says he's got a vetting process that works. And we should be confident that's working. The FBI, Homeland Security don't agree with them. The San Bernardino case, perfect example of the vetting process not working. Let's see, we got some other stories about nuclear war drones. You got to start registering your drones. You know what's amazing about this thing is FAA is going to require you to register your drone and get it marked. But what are they going to do with that information? You can't really control the space or anything, so why do you have to register it? It's, again, big government trying to step in and control our lives. Festivus Pope, got some interesting. The Pope says Christmas is a charade and that more people may not participate in next year. I'm not sure what he meant by that. I got to actually read that story. This is great news for the average citizenry. Hopefully, the DOJ has suspended asset forfeiture, profit sharing with local police, and budget cuts are expected. Within the cities, this is actually good because the local police are abusing this. They'll pull you over. They'll see that you have $10,000 in cash. Why are you carrying $10,000? Well, in my mind, $10,000 is not a lot to carry in cash. Or what if you're in your house? They'll break in your house. They see $20,000. Why do you have $20,000 in your house? Well, because I don't trust the banking system. But they don't care. They'll seize that $20,000, and trying to get that $20,000 back is very, very difficult. Then they'll pull some kind of scam like, well, we're going to see if there's any trace elements of cocaine on there, which just about every single currency out there is going to have some kind of trace element. And so it's a good thing that we're seeing this happen, that they've suspended this asset forfeiture, so we'll stop seeing it more at the local level, but we're still going to see it with the feds. Let's see. Kids are awesome. Black Lives Matter. I'm going to talk about this. We got Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson coming on and saying that Black Lives Matter is a hate group. I'm going to discuss that a little bit more in detail after they had their protest yesterday out at the Mall of America. They talked about Clinton, and she's saying that Donald Trump degrades women because he made his one comment. And this essentially goes on. Talk about degrading women, and, you see old Bill there with his cigar. A known person to do such things as that. Homeless with veterans living there in Maryland County. They've effectively ended it. This is a good thing here in Sarasota County. It's an issue with the homeless, and I know they're actively out there trying to get the vets off the street, and it's having some impact. So it's good as a veteran. It's good to see this type of activity happening out there. And just as a fellow citizen, that you don't want to see people that are homeless living out in the streets. You want them to get help and try to help them as much as you can, as long as they want to go out and get that help. Overthrow the Muslim Brotherhood has not decreased any Islamic militancy. No, it hasn't. I don't know who would have thought that it would. ISIS is growing in Egypt. ISIS is right next door to them in Libya. They're just essentially taking over there. I think I put up a video the other day of ISIS police patrols in Libya as they gain more and more land out there. Iran saying that the White House is possibly violating sanctions. They keep going back and forth with this. It's a little ridiculous, actually. And let's see what else we got. U.S. facing unprecedented threat in the wake of the ISIS rise. I know there's something going out for, I believe it's New York City. There was a warning put out for possible viable threat. TSA has changed their rules. Now you used to be able to essentially opt out again of these scanners, and now they're saying, nope, that's not really going to be it anymore. You're going to have to go through the full body scan, and they're changing the rules as to how you can and cannot go through the body scanners, those that can reject. This is that idiot that went in and just shot up the Planned Parenthood. Obviously, he looks like a nut job, and he apparently is. And this lady, this was great. Came out. This is a story I put out. I know I've had thousands of hits on it. It's about an individual that went out and saw, you have a kid, he's at school, he's starving, he doesn't have any money, so she gave him a free lunch, and the school system came in and said, you're fired. Well, a lot of people felt sorry for her. They didn't agree with it. They thought it was great that she did this for the child. And it looks like Daleen Bowden will be reinstated in her job, which is great news out there for everybody. U.S. planned raids to deport families who surged across the border. This was interesting. I found it very interesting because Obama's not really someone that is for deportation. He wants this flow to continue. So I thought it was interesting that the feds are stepping up a process or putting a process in place to deport these families back to their home countries, which most of them are coming from Central America. And this, again, is just that whole war on Christmas. The university says nativity scenes, mistletoes are non-inclusive, so they must go. A little ridiculous. So those are some of the stories out there that are taking place. This was an interesting one. I forgot all about this, and we may go back to it. It's a shock video. Basically, this individual, he's in a. Let's see if we can pull it up real quick. This individual, the cops received a notification that there was some individual out there that fit this guy that's walking in the alley's description. And so they sent the cops to check it out. And you'll see the cops are essentially like, okay, we found him. I'm going to go up and I'm going to talk to him. But as soon as the officer gets out of the car, next thing you know, gunshots are fired. The guy goes down, and it wasn't enough that he shot the guy. He decides to roll him over and treat him like a total thug, locking him up and everything, even though this guy's in obvious pain after being shot. Lo and behold, what it is the guy just had a pin in his hand. The guy said, he was going to, in his notes, he comes on here saying, I thought he had a knife and he was coming at me. But as you watch the video, it's clear that's not what happened. That's not what transpired. Sometimes because I'm running a program here that takes up a lot of memory, it's hard to get these videos to go. Let's see. Here we go. It might take a second. We gotta hit play. Hitting play is key, folks. So let's see if we can get it going. I thought it was more up around 4. Let's see.
Next to LA girls. A gray sweater with a red shirt underneath. He's 50 to 60 years old, Asian or Hispanic male.
Okay, I got him in the alley.
615 John Woodson in the alley. We're going to be keeping emergency traffic on Hancock.
Shots fired, shots fired. Code 4, send an ambulance.
10-4, shots fired, needed an ambulance.
And, he shoots the guy. All the guy did was have a pin. This is a vet. He's obviously
15 Sam, if you can put me
dying.
on, I'm en route.
615 Sam.
All right, now the guy's going to try giving him CPR, it looks like. All right, and there you go. There's the footage. So it's concerning that you see stuff like that happen. And, a lot of times officers are, people are, I hate to see everyone come down on officers because not all officers are bad, but there's a lot of bad apples out there that are making bad decisions. The problem is that the police force out there is covering their individuals. They're not taking punitive action. These guys are, you're starting to see them more and more get arrested, but they're not getting arrested like they should be. Disciplinary action isn't being taken like it should be. And I've had my own crises here where I've ran into officers with my local police force that have violated my right. And I've said something, no action's been taken. Now, I have a forum where I can put it out there, via the radio show or my scoop pages or my Uncensored report. and I can get that communication out there, but a lot of people don't have that ability like I do. This is just a car that went off on the Skyway yesterday. So that's most of the news yesterday. And now let's get back to this screen. We're going to cover a few details. I got a few things that I want to cover. The first thing we're going to cover is the nuclear waste site. I wanted to cover some Black Lives Matter concerns with their protest yesterday out at the Mall Americas and the VA. And I think there's another issue. I got an agenda right here on my sheet that I wanted to cover. But first, let's talk about this nuclear waste. And this is originally this was taking place. People were getting sick. The government and the local government there, the federal government, nobody was taking action. From my recollection is that InfoWars, who's got a huge audience, I mean significant, they went out there, brought a lot of attention to it. Next thing you know, action's being taken. So you had just the other day, 300 residents of the North St. Louis County, they crowded into this local gym. They were anxious to see what was going on. The testing was taking place. This was improperly stored nuclear weapon waste from back in the 60s and 70s, and it was getting people sick. They were getting tumors. It was a hot spot. Nobody knew about this. Most of the residents did not know that this used to be a nuclear waste dump, and nobody communicated it to them. What they thought was strange is about 4 years ago, they created this group on Facebook, and they started talking about getting sick, cancers, and all that other stuff, all kinds of conditions. They had about 2,700 people that came in and said, yeah, this is happening to me. This is my experience. This is what's going on. And finally, after companies like media operations like InfoWars went out there, the federal government acted. They went out and tested it just to see what was going on. Now we're going to jump to this video real quick, and let me get it set up here.
Unusual number of cancer cases north of St. Louis, where several have low levels of radiological contamination. Tonight, Vanita Nair reports even more sites have tested positive, and now there's a federal health investigation.
300 residents of North St. Louis County crowded into a local gym last week, anxious about what they would hear. Soil near their local creek was contaminated by improperly stored nuclear weapons waste in the 1960s and 70s, and people have been getting sick. The Army Corps of Engineers delivered the latest test results.
7 additional parcels that have been identified.
Those 7 new areas of low-level nuclear contamination were discovered as crews tested the creek this summer. The new sites include 4 commercial properties and 3 homes. Add in the 5 sites already slated for cleanup, and that is 12 places around the creek with contamination.
They found a tumor about the size of a golf ball.
Last fall, Angela Powers lost her 9-year-old grandchild, Jordan, to a brain tumor that is rare in children.
If it came from this, wow, we want some answers because it's making me angry. She was my only grandchild.
There it is, right there.
It was a variety of rare illnesses that caught the attention of resident Janelle Wright and her neighbors. 4 years ago, the group created a Facebook page that has since logged 2,700 cancers and autoimmune conditions around town. They begged federal health authorities to investigate.
We've had to go through many battles. I don't even know that I could recount all of them, all of the different agencies, literally calling an agency 30 times and they not return, your phone call.
But this month they finally got results. The Centers for Disease Control sent a health assessment team to document the residents' stories, which could confirm a link between radiation and the illnesses.
You must advocate for yourself.
Mary Osco has stage 4 lung cancer and blames it on the contamination.
Why is the government getting involved now?
Do you notice that the table's shaking? If I shake the table enough, you can't eat your meal off of it. If I make enough noise, you'll want to listen to me. We're standing up and saying, "Hi, I'm Mary, I'm dying of cancer."
Residents are hoping the health study might
now,
help them.
So that's an interesting story on what's going on out there. A lot of people are concerned, and it's good that the CDC has finally gone out there and taken some action. Not sure why it's taken them so long, which is a concern that I would have, that I'm sure many of the individuals out there have also, with just the whole process of going, of finally getting somebody out there that can look at this issue and handle it for them. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about Black Lives Matters, and let me pull up basically my diagram here. Whoops, wrong one. I tell you what, let me slip into a break real quick. This is Longevity. If you purchase off this product, it goes to supporting this program. I'm trying to limit advertisers so that I have a say on what goes into my program. So listen to this. It might be 30 seconds to a minute. Let me set up for the next segment. I got some fact sheets that I need to pull up, and we're good to go. We'll be right back. Yesterday, besides the restraining order, Black Lives Matter decided to go out and they protested at the Mall of Americas. They went over there, they did their protest, it spilled over into the airport. The airport had to shut down certain segments of it for about 30 minutes. There were some arrests. Police arrested about 13 protesters, and they cited trespassing, disorderly conduct, the usual stuff that comes with protesting. Here's the biggest thing with Black Lives Matter is why are they going out there and protesting? What has the Mall of America done that's against what their overall mission statement is? You know, ever since you had the acquittal of Trayvon Martin and the Michael Brown incident out in Ferguson, the phrase Black Lives Matters has become a rallying cry. It's a new chapter in this whole Black African American struggle that's going on out there. But these disruptive protests and their impassioned public speeches aren't really pulling it for them. They're bringing about some racial inequality, and it's been disconcerting to many Americans. You know, do Black Lives matter more than a white life? I don't think so. Why can't the blacks just address the crime problems that are in their own communities? You know, why is it that they're only targeting the officers? Officers shoot white people too. When a black officer shoots a white person, you don't see about it with Black Lives Matters. And so these are just some of the many questions out there that surround this movement. You know, a lot of the issues that I have with them, they don't care about black on black crime. It's that whole idea that black crime is not significant political conversation among black people. It's concerning. Black Lives Matter's movement acknowledges the crime problem, but they refuse to locate that the crime problem is the problem of black pathology. Black people are not inherently more violent. They're not more prone to crime, are they? No, they're not. What happens is the black people tend to be disproportionately poor. And they're more likely to be targeted by police and arrested. Unfortunately, they tend, because they are in those poor demographics, they attend the poor schools, the failing schools. So you got all these social indicators in place. That puts them at a greater risk. You either become a victim or the perpetrator of a violent crime. And to reduce this violent crime, they need to go out and fight to change the system. I'm not sure demonizing people, demonizing the white man is the approach to go through. And a lot of this is just because they're leaderless. They have people like Reverend Al Sharpton jumping on the bandwagon whenever he can. But essentially, they're leaderless. You know, many of us, we were out there, we were enamored with people like Martin Luther King. He's a symbol of leadership out there. But But you don't see a person like that within this Black Lives Matters movement. You know, a lot of people see them as they really don't have an agenda except to hate police. You know, they go out, they yell, they protest, they disrupt the lives of white people, they yell at white people. And they actually do have an agenda out there, but it's not being communicated. You know, one is swift and legal, transparent investigations of police and shootings of black people, tracking the number of people shot by black people, demilitarization of the police force. So they do have an agenda out there, but it's not being effectively communicated. And it makes it seem like they're just a one-issue thing. Well, maybe a two-issue thing. Go out there and hate whitey and demonize the police. And like I said, I understand. I get why a lot of the police officers are demonized, because you just have a structure out there that doesn't discipline irrational, illegal, unlawful actions of these officers. But are they taking the right approach? You know, well, some people believe that another issue with them is that they're not taking it. They're not being advised by elders. They got a lot of these younger people with different thoughts, different ideologies. That the black church isn't playing a role in it, and that the movement rejects any type of theology, which is two things that Martin Luther King did. So a lot of concerns out there that this movement is starting to hit a brick wall. When you see them go out to the Mall of America and protest over something that really has nothing to do with their agenda and disrupt everybody's lives for Christmas, or how about even when they put out commentary like when the Paris attacks happened, some of the supposed leaders of Black Lives Matter came out and were upset that this whole ISIS thing happened over in France because it took away the attention from them. Stuff like that does not bode well for this movement. And they really need a leader that can step up and help them to realize their dream of achieving their different agendas that are out there. All right, I wanted to talk a little bit about this next thing. It's White Christmas. Since this is Christmas Eve, I thought we'd cover a little bit about White Christmas and how this individual went out. He did a YouTube presentation that I'm pulling up now, and he basically asked people, hey, is White Christmas racist? And he said, you know, snow is pure, it's white. Is the connotation here that it's racist? And let me get it all set up. So listen to it, but again, it's not just the, some people view it as war on Christmas, but it's just that whole PC thing and how it's gone from one extreme to another. So let's take a listen to this video. Let me get you guys on the right screen, and we'll be right back.
Seen on the news, college campuses all over the country have gone absolutely bananas over political correctness. But just how bad is it? Today, I'm on a college campus. It is the holiday season, and I'm going to see if I can get students to sign a petition to get radio stations to stop playing Christmas favorites, because it is racist. Trying to boycott the song White Christmas, trying to tell radio stations not to play it anymore because we feel that it's insulting to people of color, perpetuates the idea that white is naturally good and that other colors are bad. And we feel that that's a microaggression. White supremacy is everywhere, even in your holiday songs. Can you help us out today? Yeah. Thank you so much. Help stop White Christmas. What could be more racist than White Christmas? And we think that the song White Christmas is insulting to people of color because it says snow is white and therefore it is good. And, but we know there are other kinds of snow, and just because it's there and it's dirty on the ground, sometimes it turns brown, sometimes it turns black. What kind of Christmases do you like? I like racially ambiguous Christmases, to be honest with you. I mean,
Yeah. Is it white like the snow?
Yeah, white like the snow, or like me,
I don't think that's
You don't think that's too bad? You got to check your privilege, man. All right, turn on your radio, you'll hear it, but not if we have our say. They're going to stop playing that song, because Black Lives Matter.
Thank you.
No problem, man. Ladies, help us out. Sign our petition. Stop white supremacy in the holiday season.
Oh, I signed it.
Oh yeah, okay. You're familiar with microaggression, right? Mm-hmm. It's like aggression, only smaller. And we're not trying to ruin Christmas for anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of are. We're telling radio stations to stop playing the song.
Okay.
You don't.
You got my
Okay, awesome, man. Because there's a lyric in here that we feel, because he says, "I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know." You know, like you have to say, man, well, what were the Christmases like that you used to know?
Right.
Were there no black people around? Yet it doesn't mention anything about climate change either. And we feel that would be very appropriate considering that the holiday season and snow. So we think they should either change the lyrics or get it off the radio once and for all.
No, actually, I think I might hear it if I've heard it, because I used to listen to Christmas
It
carols
goes,
a lot in the car.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're petitioning to get it taken off radio stations.
Okay.
It sounds like good, right?
Yeah, it sounds understandable.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I mean, there are plenty of Christmas songs anyway. They're saying snow and white snow is good. It's pure. It's what Christmas is about.
Black snow.
All right, so what say you? Is White Christmas racially insensitive? Is it discrimination? Is Darth Vader discrimination? Has this whole world gone PC nuts, folks? How the heck is White Christmas racially insensitive? And how about these nimrods out at the college? He got 18 of these idiots to sign off on the petition to take White Christmas off of the radio station. Now, obviously, it was a prank, but these individuals didn't know that. What's that say for our upper education? It's not unlike that whole Yell petition that went out the other day that I put up on the site. This PC madness has to end. And what's really crazy is I wrote an article on PC. And I just went on and on. I don't know if anybody read it. And, well, I got a ton of hits. It was a ton of people went through and viewed it. And a lot of people had some commentary. And some people, one lady came on and started telling me I look like a child pedophile or a pedophile. And just started attacking me because I came on and said, look, I'm sick and tired of being PC. Why do I have to be PC in life today? Why does society dictate that I be PC? And this person just lost it. Actually, several people lost it. I got a lot of hate me email, which means I'm doing something right, I guess. That's what my mom always told me. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'll be right back. Longevity. Remember to go to my website, theuncensoredreport.com. If you click on it, you got vitamins, minerals, organics. It's some of the best quality out there for products. By all means, go there. It helps support the channel or the show and the website. I do have advertising on there. People will say, well, I thought you didn't do advertising. It's more of AdSense. So you basically go to AdSense and they throw a bunch of ads up based upon what people are coming to your site and what their interests are and the cookies that are in their computer. But nothing that really has an advertiser coming in trying to dictate what I can and cannot communicate on these shows. All right, so the next thing we're going to cover is well, we'll do this one, Seymour Hersh. This was a bombshell, and you just did not. Let me get you guys on a split screen. I keep forgetting to do a split screen so that you can see a lot of these articles that I'm referring to. But Seymour Hersh, this guy's a Pulitzer-winning veteran journalist out there, and he brought to light something that many people know if you're out there in the alternative media, and that's the fact that the Obama administration has essentially been supporting ISIS, al-Nusra, FSA, every other group out there that he deems be moderate to overthrow Assad. And he's been so stubborn with getting Assad out of that position, all over some pipeline, which all this stuff started over, that he's out there aiding and abetting these extremists. So he went out there, and Hirsch, keep in mind, guys, this is a Pulitzer-winning veteran journalist, Seymour Hirsch. He went out and he said the Joint Chiefs of Staffs are indirectly supporting Assad, which contradicts with what Obama wants. And they're doing this in an effort to beat all the jihadist groups that are out there. The Al-Nusra, FSA, ISIS, Al-Qaeda's even there. And what they're doing is, he says the Joint Chiefs are working with Russia, Germany, and Israel. And understanding that they transmit this sensitive data back to Assad so that he can push back against Al-Nusra and ISIS. What it's doing is undermining the U.S. efforts, undermining the Obama's efforts. And this is why you see Obama going in and firing a ton of his top level generals, captains in the Navy, and people that will not go along with his game plan. Last year, you saw a ton of soldiers coming out and saying, I will not fight ISIS for you, basically covering up their face. But major media won't tell you any of this. They won't let you know. I did an article on this where I basically covered the growth in how they started from Al-Qaeda in Iraq. Was basically the U.S. policies that separated them and basically got the new Iraqi government to push all the old Saddam loyalists out. Next thing you know, you got Al-Qaeda in Iraq as the Sunnis started that up. We've been funding them. We've been supplying them with weapons. Even over in Libya. Now, granted, people like Saddam, Mubarak in Egypt, Gaddafi in Libya, not good people. But they're better people than the people that are in there now. The countries were a lot more stable than they are now. ISIS, a great swath of that land is now controlled, in Libya, is now controlled by ISIS. Iraq, Syria, they're trying to get rid of Assad like they did with Gaddafi. What, so ISIS can go in there too? And you got to wonder, what is the president's agenda here? Obviously, it conflicts with what our military wants. And our military has come out and said, we will not fight, we will not arm and support, we will not finance these extremist terrorist groups. We will not finance ISIS. And it's great that you have someone like Seymour Hirsch stepping up and bringing this to everyone's attention because it brings more validity to it. There's a video. Let's see. I didn't listen to this video. Let's see what it says.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Our guest is Seymour Hirsch, the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. Well, during Saturday's Democratic debate, ABC host David Muir asked former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton about Senator Bernie Sanders' plan for Syria.
We heard from the senator just this week that we must put aside the issue of how quickly we get rid of Assad and come together with countries including Russia and Iran to destroy ISIS first. Is he wrong?
I think we're missing the point here. We are doing both at the same time.
But that's what he's saying. We should put that aside for now and go after ISIS.
Well, I don't agree with that because we will not get the support on the ground in Syria to dislodge ISIS if the fighters there who are not associated with ISIS but whose principal goal is getting rid of Assad don't believe there is a political diplomatic channel that is ongoing. We now have that.
Secretary Clinton is right.
Stop this. What political diplomatic channel do we have? Is she crazy?
This is a complicated issue. I don't think anyone has a magical solution, but this is what I do believe. Yes, of course, Assad is a terrible dictator, but I think we have got to get our foreign policies and our priorities right. It is not Assad who was attacking the United States. It is ISIS. And ISIS is attacking France and attacking Russian airliners. The major priority right now in terms of our foreign and military...
And folks, this is not just Clinton who's this hawkish on going after Assad. This is the neocons on the right, the McCains of the world. McCain has been pictured with former Al-Nusra members folks, but the major media won't play it out there for you.
Policy should be the destruction of ISIS.
O'Malley? We shouldn't be the ones declaring that Assad must go. Where did it ever say in the Constitution, where is it written that it's the job of the United States of America or its Secretary of State to determine when dictators have to go?
Exactly, folks, and this is what's gotten us in trouble. Who are we to go in and say Gaddafi's got to go, Mubarak's got to go, Saddam Hussein's got to go, or now Assad's got to go? And why would we go after Assad and try to kick him out when we see what our nation building has done in the past, especially with those 3 other countries?
We have a role to play in this world, but it is not the role of traveling the world looking for new monsters to destroy.
That's former Governor Martin O'Malley, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, and Hillary Clinton all vying for the presidency. Seymour Hersh, your response and how these different views ally with either President Obama or the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as you've laid out in your piece, Military to Military.
Well, clearly what Mr. O'Malley and Bernie Sanders said would ring very solidly with the Joint Chiefs. They would be in great distress about what Hillary Clinton said, because I think, you know, the fact is that if you really want to look at it, Bashar is still the president of Syria. The Russians are bombing in Syria at his invitation. We are bombing in Syria without his invitation. And so it's hard sometimes for Americans to think that we're not always on the side of the angels on legal issues, but we're certainly, by any normal standard of, you know, if there was a normal standard of international conduct, we would be the bad guys in that, just in terms of legalities. We're not invited in. We're doing it. Obviously, there's a lot of agreement and there's a lot of coordination going on with all the bombing, much more than we know. The Syrians are certainly coordinating with the Russians, and we're certainly coordinating with everybody. No pilot from any country is going to fly into a combat zone without knowing exactly who's there and whether it's safe or not. So there's much more cooperation going on even now than you can see. But the idea, you know, and in your opening you mentioned that we seem to moderate our view, and I think those are words that are being said. But the reality is, we still always say, well, we're not talking about regime change now.
Didn't Kerry meet with Putin and then completely reverse the position?
No, not quite, because the position was, if you read the transcripts, there was he had a news conference or briefing after the meeting with Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, in which Kerry said, it's always this, the caveat is always, but we don't think he can be in power while these negotiations can go on. He won't be able to preside over the negotiations. In other words, he's such a dissident force in this that we can't have a legitimate negotiation with various groups, some of which we believe are moderate, against most of the intelligence that's available. We still, the United States, the president still believes.
Okay, folks, so essentially you got Seymour out there saying, look, this whole thing of focusing so much on Assad's got to go has to stop. You can't continue to go out there and work with these moderate rebel groups. These are not moderate rebel groups. If you've listened to my show in the past, you've known this. I've talked about this. I've read about this in the past. Al-Nusra is just as bad as ISIS. The Free Syrian Army, they're just as bad as ISIS. The only group that's worth anything out there are the Kurds. And let me tell you something, folks. Let me get to this. The Kurds are the only group out there that are a viable group in doing anything to overthrow Assad and bring about any semblance of some form of government there. But it will never happen. Turkey will not allow it. And that's why when you started seeing Kurds making all these advances and getting up all this territory and defeating ISIS, you saw Turkey come in and start bombing them. The United States said nothing about it. The Turkeys had their door open, letting ISIS freely flow into there. And that's because Turkey will not allow Kurds to have their own land, to have their own country. They are bitter enemies to the end, folks. That's why the Turkey went into Iraq. Uninvited, essentially invaded Iraq just a week or two ago and started killing Kurds there. Now they're supposedly leaving. There's some questioning about that. And he had a great point too, folks. Syria has invited Russia in. We are not invited. We essentially are going in there and bombing the hell out of this country. We're doing it under the premise, under the guise that we're going after ISIS, but isn't it amazing how ineffective our military campaign was against ISIS compared to Russia's? Suddenly Russia goes in there, they're having a lot of success, and now we are stepping it up. They called Obama's bluff. As a former veteran, I'm really, really concerned with what this Obama is doing with our military, our presence in Syria. It's amazing. All right, next is this article here. Let me get you guys up to it. This is on the VA. You know, you keep hearing these stories all the time. You had this guy come in, Robert McDonald. You hope things are going to get better, but then once again you see something where they declared 115 veterans deceased. And what they did is they revoked their health benefits. All their benefits are gone because they wrongly declared them dead back in between. It was over like almost a year, not quite a year, about 10 months. So now they're saying to prevent such issues in the future, we're going to automate it. Whenever I hear automated, I think, oh, God. They're going to automate the process. And once it gets designated as someone possibly deceased, before they take any action, they're going to send a letter to that person's residence. They're going to try to make contact with them before taking away their benefits. Now, first of all, they should never been deemed dead. I mean, how does this stuff happen? Here's another video. I didn't watch this. Let's see what they have to say about this in this video here.
From the creators of Courageous and Fireproof.
I wish we got a little bit of a commercial there. The Gift of Hope. Not sure what this is all about this Christmas. All right. So, but you see this happening over and over again, where the VA is not treating our veterans the way they should be. In terms of health care, in terms of trying to get appointments and being put off, and 6 months, 7 months down the road, and they're never getting in. Now to this being declared dead and taking their benefits away. Let's go ahead and listen to this report.
Hoping to prevent a big mistake. This after they revoked benefits for a handful of Tampa Bay veterans, declaring them dead when in fact they were actually alive. Congressman David Jolly says he has been pressuring the VA to make a change. ABC Action News reporter Ashley Yore joining us right now with those changes in hopes it never happens again.
It's something that sounds simple, but Congressman David Jolly says has taken nearly a year to make happen. Instead of just cutting a veteran's benefits because records show they've died, the VA now needs verification. The new policy requires the VA to send a letter confirming a veteran's passing that goes to the beneficiary. And if it turns out to be a mistake, the veteran can contact the VA themselves. This serves as a warning instead of just cutting off benefits automatically. Congressman Jolly helped these veterans, Mike Ricker and Marianne Clow, get their benefits back after they were declared dead. Another veteran sharing Mike's name died in Arizona, so his monthly benefits were cut. And Marianne's husband had a previous wife with her same name who passed away. That's who the VA thought they cut funds to. Clerical errors with big impacts for these two.
I lost well over $4,000. They just took out of my checking account.
When I called, the lady said, well, our records show that you're deceased. And I said, well, no, I'm not. I'm here. Well, it was like 5 minutes on the phone arguing with this lady about being dead.
These two shared their gratitude for Jolly's work. The congressman says...
All right, and I'm telling you, a lot of these VA stories you're hearing are pretty accurate. I signed up for the VA 4 or 5 years ago. I've yet to hear anything. The whole process was cumbersome. It was a pain in the butt. And they give you a number. They say they'll get back to you. You never hear from them. And I haven't really attempted to go back there because I'm hearing so many negative stories about the overall health care. I don't know if I want to be a part of that system. You know, things from where they might say, well, if you're getting a mental depressant because you were out there fighting for your country and you killed some people and now you're mentally distraught because a lot of the stuff you went through in the Navy, a lot of this, mine being in the Navy, that they put you through with the shots, with the medicines, with the experiments, with the killing. So now you got to take some kind of post-traumatic medicine to help with your post-traumatic. Well, now we're going to take away your gun rights. If you want VA care, you're going to have to do this. If you want VA care, you're going to have to do that. And you're in their system. So I've been hesitant about going back through there. We'll see what happens. All right. I think that's all I got for today. It's Christmas Eve. We'll cut it short. Behind the scenes, a lot of my stuff wasn't working right, so it seemed like I was tripping up a little bit. I was. Again, this is uncensored, unedited. I put it out there. I go right at it. I do everything. This whole production is all me. It's a one-person operation. Even my websites, the postings on there and everything, it's a one-man operation. Me, myself, and I. Hopefully you enjoy it. If you got any questions, feel free to email me. Stop by my page, theuncensoredreport.com. You can get a lot of the stories. You can find my articles on there. You can find previous shows or a link to get you to previous shows. I do these rogue rants where I'll go off for about 5 minutes on an issue. You can see those on there. And also previous interviews with individuals that have come on the show. This has been Francesco Abbruzzino. Everybody have a Merry Christmas.